Welcome back, beautiful souls. It's Brittany, your manifesting mentor. And tonight we're continuing our journey through Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. We're now in part 4 of chapter 2, and this section is crucial because Dr. Joe begins to explain how your attention and emotional state influence your energy and ultimately your reality. So, the first part we're going to dive into is where attention goes, energy flows. You probably heard that quote before in the manifestation community. This is one of those core truths of the quantum model that whatever you give your focus to, you're feeding it with your life force. So if you're focused on the past, on stress, on lack, that's where your energy is going. And you can't create a new future while you're leaking energy into the old one. So as long as you're focused on the past or you're focused on your old life, the things you don't like about the life you currently have, that's where all your energy is. Then we move into living by the hormones of stress, where Dr. Joe Dispenza explains what happens when we stay in survival mode for too long, right? Because we naturally go into survival mode when we're in danger, but you shouldn't stay in it longer than you need to. We see how that goes. But your body becomes addicted to adrenaline and cortisol and other stress chemicals. And instead of creating from love or inspiration, you're creating from fear, control, and urgency. And this section is an absolute wake up call, but it's also an invitation because once you realize where your energy is, you can finally choose to take it back. Let's begin. Since where you place your attention is where you place your energy, when you wake up in the morning and immediately start to putting your attention and energy on all the people you have to see that day, the places you have to go, the objects you own, the things you have to do in the three-dimensional world, your energy becomes fractured. All your creative energy is flowing away from you. And he has it in figure 2.5. And I don't know if you can see this, but screenshot like we do. He says, taking a glance at figure 2.5, it's obvious that most people's attention and energy are directed to their outer material world. It begs the question, how much energy do you have left in your inner world of thoughts and feelings to create a new reality? Consider for a moment that each of these people or things you give so much attention to is a known in your life because you've experienced it. As I mentioned earlier in the chapter, you have a neurological network in your brain for each one of those things. Since they are mapped in your brain, you perceive and so experience them from your past. And the more you keep experiencing them, the more automatic and enriched the neural circuits for each of them become because the redundancy of the various experiences keeps assembling and refining more and more circuits. That's what experience does. It enriches the brain. So you have a neurological network about your boss, a neurological network about money, a neurological network about your partner, a neurological network about your kids, a neurological network for your financial situation, a neurological network for your house, a neurological network about all your physical world possessions because you've experienced all of those people or things at different times and places. And this chart once again shows where you put your attention is where you place your energy, and it's showing all of the outer worlds and outer world physical reality items that we usually tend to focus on. I'm going to read the little paragraph underneath that chart. He says, every person, object, thing, place, or situation in our familiar physical reality has a neurological network assigned to it in our brain and an emotional component connected to it because we've experienced all these things, which is basically what it just said. This is how our energy becomes bonded to our present past reality. Therefore, as you place your attention on these elements, your energy is flowing away from you and it leaves little energy in your inner world of thoughts and feelings to create something new in your life. It says if you look at the magnified portions of the figure where two ovals intersect, oh, hold on. these two ovals up here where they intersect, and also down here. He says that these represent how we use different elements in our outer world to reaffirm our emotional addiction. So you may use your friends to reaffirm your addiction to suffering. Oh, that's good. You may use your enemies to reaffirm your addiction to hatred. It begs the question, how much of your creative energy could you be using to design a new destiny? That's why I always mind my business, because I know it's too much. It's a lot going on in the world. But if I gave everything my attention, I don't have that much energy to create what I want in my world. Let that sink in. When your attention and therefore your energy is divided between all these outer world objects, people, problems, and issues, there's no energy left for you to put on your inner world of thoughts and feelings. So there's no energy left for you to use to create something new. Why? Because how you think and how you feel literally creates your personal reality. Therefore, if you're thinking and feeling equal to everything that you know, that's the known. You keep reaffirming the same life. In fact, we could say that your personality is no longer creating your personal reality. Now, your personal reality is creating your personality. Your external environment is controlling your thoughts and feelings. There's a biological match between your inner world of thoughts and feelings and your outer world, past, present reality, made of people and objects at certain times and places. You are continuously keeping your life the same because you are keeping your attention, thoughts, and your energy, feelings, the same. It's a you thing. Finally, if how you think and how you feel broadcast an electromagnetic signature that influences every area of your life, you are broadcasting the same electromagnetic energy and your life never changes. We could say that your energy is equal to everything in your past, present reality, and you are recreating the past. That's not the only limitation that occurs, though. When you place all your attention and energy on the outer world and you keep reacting to the same conditions in the same way, in the same state of chronic stress, which causes the brain to be in a constant state of arousal, your inner world becomes imbalanced and your brain begins to work inefficiently. Who knew we were doing that? And then you become less effective in creating anything at all. In other words, you become a victim of your life instead of the creator of your life. So now we're in the next section, living by the hormones of stress. Now, let's take a closer look at how we end up getting addicted to our negative emotions, or more precisely, what we call the hormones of stress. The moment we react to any condition in our outer world that tends to be threatening, whether the threat is real or imagined, our body releases stress hormones in order to mobilize enormous amounts of energy in response to that threat. Remember how I said your body doesn't know the difference between real and imagined? It's going to treat whatever goes on in your imagination the same as if it's really happening. Yeah, we do that with all kind of things. Watch this. Maybe a predator was chasing us, for example, and we had to make the decision to fight, run, or hide. When we are in survival mode, we automatically become materialists, defining reality with our senses, by what we can see, hear, smell, feel, and taste. We also narrow our focus and put all our attention on matter, on our bodies existing in a particular space and time. The hormones of stress the hormones of stress cause us to give all our attention to our outer world because that's where the danger lurks. Back in the days of early humans, of course, this response was a good thing. It was adaptive, it kept us alive. And once we had focused our attention on the cause and then the danger had passed, the levels of all those stress hormones went back into balance. But in modern times, that's no longer the case. After just one phone call or email from our boss or a family member that elicits a strong emotional reaction, such as anger, frustration, fear, anxiety, sadness, guilt, suffering, or shame, we turn on the primitive fight or flight nervous system, causing us to react as if we're being chased by a predator. We treat everyday circumstances like we're in the jungle running from a lion, tiger, or bear. The same chemistry automatically stays switched on because the external threat never seems to go away. The truth is that many of us spend the majority of our time in a state of heightened arousal. It's become chronic. I wonder why so many diseases are on the rise in America. But anyway, I digress. It's as though the predator is not out there in the wild, making an occasional toothy appearance, but is instead living in the same cave as we are. A toxic coworker whose desk is right next to ours, for example. Such a chronic stress response is not adaptive, it's maladaptive. When we're living in survival mode and those hormones of stress like adrenaline and cortisol keep pumping through our body, we stay on high alert instead of returning back to balance. As in Anna's experience in chapter 1, when this imbalance is maintained long term, chances are we're headed for disease because long term stress downregulates healthy expression of genes. In fact, our bodies become so conditioned to this rush of chemicals that they become addicted to them. Our bodies actually crave them. Oof, woof, woof, woof. In this mode, our brains become overly alert and aroused as we try to predict, control, and force outcomes in an effort to increase our chances of survival. And the more we do this, the stronger the addiction becomes, and the more we believe we are our bodies, connected to our identities, our environment, living in the linear time. That's because that's where all of our attention is. And I wrote my note says my previous pattern in relation, I think, to work or something. When your brain is aroused and when you're living in survival mode and you have to keep shifting your attention to your job, to the news, to your ex, to your friends, to your email, to Facebook, and to Twitter, you're activating each of these different neurological networks very quickly. So we live in a whole new time where social media is really messing up our attention span. But if you keep doing this over time, the act of habitually narrowing your focus and shifting your attention compartmentalizes your brain and it no longer works in a balanced fashion. And when that happens, you are training your brain to fire in a disordered, incoherent pattern, which causes it to work very inefficiently. Like a lightning storm in the clouds, different neural networks fire out of order, so your brain works out of sync. The effect is similar to a group of drummers all banging on their skins at the same time, but not together or with any kind of rhythm. We will talk much more about the concepts of coherence and incoherence in a later chapter. But for now, it's enough to know that when your brain is gets incoherent, you get incoherent. When your brain isn't working optimally, you're not working optimally. For each outer world person or thing or place you've experienced in your life that is known, you have an emotion connected to it because emotions, which are energy and motion, are the chemical residue of experience. And if most of the time you're living by those addictive stress hormones, you might use your boss to reaffirm your addiction to judgment. You might use your coworkers to reaffirm your addiction to competition. You might use your friends to reaffirm your addiction to suffering. Ooh. You might use your enemies to reaffirm your addiction to hatred, your parents to reaffirm your addiction to guilt, your Facebook feed to reaffirm your addiction to insecurity, the news to reaffirm your addiction to anger, your ex to reaffirm your addiction to resentment, and your relationship with money to reaffirm your addiction to lack. Guys, this is so good. Oh my God. This means your emotions, your energy are commingled, even bonded with every person, place, or thing you experience in your known familiar reality. And that means there's no energy available for you to create a new job, a new relationship, a new financial situation, a new life, or even a newly healed body. For anybody dealing with health issues, this is in the way. Let me say it another way. If how you think and how you feel determines the frequency and information you are emitting in your energy field, which has a significant effect on your life, And if all your attention and so all your energy is tied up in your outer world of people, objects, things, places, and time, there is no energy left in your inner world of thoughts and feelings. Therefore, the stronger the emotion you're addicted to, the more you will place your attention on that person, object, place, or circumstance in your outer world, giving away most of your creative energy and causing you to feel and think equal to everything you already know. It becomes difficult to think and feel in any new ways when you are addicted to your outer world. And it's possible that you can become addicted to all the people and the things in your life that are causing all your problems in the first place. Mm, that's how you give your power away and mismanage your energy. If you review 2.5, which is what I just showed, you'll find a few examples to illustrate how we create energetic bonds to all the elements in our outer world. Figure 2.6, on the left side of the diagram, you see two atoms bound by an invisible field of energy. I'm going to show you that now. These are two atoms bound by energy. And I guess he's comparing the two people, which, just like the atoms, were bound by energy. So, like matches like. You don't get what you want, you get what you are vibrationally matched to, including in people. But that's a whole nother topic. So if you mad at the person you was in a relationship with, something in you was a vibrational match. Oh, did I say that? Yes, I said that. They are sharing information. Okay, let me take that back. Take a look at figure 2.6. On the left side of the diagram, you see two atoms bound by an invisible field of energy. They are sharing information. It's energy that is bonding them together. On the right side of the diagram, you see two people who are sharing an experience of resentment and who are also bonded by an invisible field of energy that keeps them connected energetically. In truth, they are sharing the same energy and so the same information. So, like I said, these two people, he said that that these two people are sharing the same emotions and the same energy and sharing the same thoughts and information. They're bonded together. You ever heard the saying, like, my ops linked up together so they can hate on me? Like, two people that may not like you all of a sudden becomes friends because they share the same energy about you. That was just an example, but that was top of mind. I'm just saying. So to separate the two atoms, it takes energy. By the same means, if your attention and energy are bound to the same people, places, and things in the outside physical world, you can understand that it's going to take energy and effort to break those bonds to break those bonds when you're in meditation. This begs the question, how much of your creative energy is tied up in guilt, hatred, resentment, lack, or fear? The truth is that you could be using all that energy to recreate a new destiny. To do that, you're going to have to get beyond all those things in your outer world by taking your attention off of them. That's why we use meditation. For people who are curious to know why he talks so much about meditation, or why am I, a content creator, talking so much about meditation, because we're addicted to everything out there and we need to train our brains to be safe and feel safe in here because we need our energy, like he's saying. That's why we use meditation as a model to change our internal state. This allows us to break from our associations to everybody, everyone, everything, everywhere, and every time long enough to journey within. Once you overcome your emotional body, you take your attention off everything known to your outer world. You call your energy back to you, breaking the bonds with your past, present reality, which has been staying the same. You're going to have to make the transition from being somebody to being nobody, which means you have to take your attention off your body, your pain, and your hunger. You're going to have to go from being someone to being no one, taking your attention off your identity as a partner, a parent, and an employee. You'll have to go from keeping your attention on something to placing your attention on no thing, forgetting all about your cell phone, your emails, and getting a cup of coffee, and from being somewhere to being nowhere, getting beyond any thoughts about the chair you're meditating in or where you'll be going later today, and from being in linear time to being in no time with no distracting memories or thoughts about the future. This is what we do in meditation. We try to let go of all the things. I'm not saying that your cell phone or your laptop or your car or your bank account is bad, but when you are overly attached to those things and they've captured your attention to such a degree that you can't get beyond thinking about them because of the strong emotions you associate with them, those possessions own you. And then you can't create something new. The only way to do that is to learn to call all of that fractured energy back so you can overcome the emotions of survival that you have become addicted to and that keep all your energy bound to your present past reality. Once you take your attention off of all those exterior elements, you start to weaken your energetic and emotional bonds with those things, and you finally begin to free up enough available energy to create a new future. That's going to require you to become aware of where you've been unconsciously placing your attention. And like separating two atoms, it's going to take some energy to consciously break those bonds. So, we are so addicted not just to things in our life but to stories, and we're bounded energetically to people and circumstances because of our emotional addictions surrounding those things, including people. And like you said, it's going to take some energy to consciously break the bonds. That's why we constantly try to master ourselves through meditative practices, because it took a while for you to get addicted. Now you got to teach your body something new. But when I tell you it's worth it, like I said, if you've been watching those testimonials, all right, we'll get there. People come up to me all the time in workshops and tell me their computer hard drive crashed, or someone stole their car, or they lost their job and they don't have any more money. When they tell me they have lost people or things in their life, you know what I always say to them? Great! Look how much available energy you have now to design a new destiny. Child, when I heard him say that, I was like, wait, what? That is real. By the way, if you do this work well and manage to call your energy back to you, it will most likely become uncomfortable at first. I can attest to that. Even a little chaotic. Get ready, because certain areas of your life may fall apart. But don't worry, that's supposed to happen because you're breaking the energetic bonds between yourself and your same past reality. Anything that is no longer in vibrational match between you and your future is going to fall away. Let it. Don't try to put your old life back together, because you're going to be way too busy with the new destiny you're calling to yourself. That's a hard pill for a lot of people to follow, but stick around and you're really going to understand why. Here's a great example. A friend of mine who was a vice president of a university showed up for a board meeting about 3 weeks after he started doing this meditation work. He was the backbone of that university. The students and the faculty loved him. He walked into the board meeting and sat down, and they fired him. So he called me and said, "Hey, I don't know if this meditation process is working. The board just fired me. Aren't great things supposed to happen to me when I'm doing this work?" Listen, I told him, don't you hold on to those emotions of survival, because then you'll be in your past. Instead of Instead, keep finding the present moment and creating from that place. Within 2 weeks, he fell in love with a woman he later married. He also received an offer for an even better job as vice president of a much larger and better university, which he gratefully accepted. A year later, he called me again to tell me that the college that fired him was now asking him to return as president. So you never know what the universe has in store for you as your old reality falls away and your new one begins to unfold. The only thing I can assure you of is this: the unknown has never let me down. That wraps up part 4. I encourage you to join me for the next part where we talk about calling your energy back, because that was a lot. And we want to know how to get that energy back where we need it so we can create for ourselves. So join me in my next video, part 5. Thanks. See you there.